Om Dari Dudare Dureso, Om Dari.
Dara Dudara Duruso, 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 Dada do dada do so, 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 dada do do so, dada dada do dada do so, dada do dada do so. Dada do dada do so, 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 do so, dada do dada do so, do dada do so, dada do dada do so, dada do dada do so. Dada dada so ha 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 dada dada so dada dada so ha dada dada so dada dada so ha so ha dada dada so ha dada dada so ha dada Dura so the enjoy. There sala to show.
Ngare shinzo ta tende ji ma do me do o tende ji che yang kon de she da yo chogru ba te che ta ngolo chembo shunu pal nes ngolo za o tuni ngebe number ta ngolo za ba sound de begi nyamna ba chigre shebegi menga yongsu zo ba ngolo za ne yung yo re 다 냠랭이 맹아 내 강가 마반네 용거 사운드베 네 군주르다 더 가리네 지 찬주스 들리게 제여다 데레 다 텐데 인도 걸 걸로 첨부 쇼노 반네 동이 녜베 넘버는 미토베 이시 팅이 동이 녜베 넘버 미토베 이시 팅이 차제 첨부 셰데스 다기네 쉬야기 넘버 미토베다 땡기웨세기 이시 오다 동닝에 베트니지를 베지 고야래 대른 딩원기 차제 루주 통마를 다가르베 식디 다가란 누구도 딩원기 차제 루주 통마를 다네 산지기 땜바 시소소 탈완네 벨상원 뒤베 바지 루바다 냠네 탐제라 게 네버 쳐봐 차제 첨비 땀 줘버 차대 시에베소 대달 시주 나조장 노르드나 동아기 예외 니소스 사운드베 깔려 차자시 까미지 용거 디숭구 유사를 차자 첨부 땀 줘버 차대스네 벨 사운드베 파지 두바다 냠네 탐제라 겐 데버 쳐 차자 첨부 땀 줘버 차대스네 산두 깔려 차자시 까미지 숭고를 다 데레 셰셰베 소스 다 사베 찾아 다기 대바질리에 사베 찾아 남실레스니 이게 공고테 다기 직제 먹고 요번 공고들 드니도 사베 찾아 남실레스니 어다 이 정말 지신디 신금에다 어다 두주 송단 때 셰베 있나 다 지부 찾아 남기 찾아 어떤데 계자 여대버지래 시 찾아 여초래 다 리뷰 찾아 가르샤 구송투 자바 어 산제 구송투 자바 시버텔라 리뷰 찾아 시를 자르래 다 디 톱지기 아니 람기 qablaya 아니 닌들기 람기 남샤다 잘네 찾아시 노람기 전주 셈베 탑시 예매 거기 아니 찾아시 나람기 아니 지 대도 예매다 잘네 찾아시 뜨면내 jor다 잘베 고네 아니 감자매도 증베기 딘데기 찾아시 딘데지 람 냠슬람 발라테네 아니 톱제 디부 가르 용거레스 라바이나 아니 사베 찾아 아니 쿠시디 도스체네 루토그레스네 숭기 여인 바랬다 딘데 인도 걸 로자베 qab리네 숭야라야 상원디버 qab라 딘데 요레스 제제 타니 요레 숭야지 도스 임바레 내저 유qab래 딘데 타니 요레 더 딘지레
Okay. Okay. As ba Rinpoche דיברתי עם rinpoche שהוא ייתן גם זמן לשאלות ותשובות.
연조고 주고도
말에 디 자말아디 간디슈 두츠 라기르베스 디 rinpoche 두 지워지는 두츠
연구 잡으셨나?
두츠 샤기르베스. אז דיברתי עם rinpoche על שאלות ותשובות.
So I think the question addressed to Rinpoche was whether would be like a question and answer session, and I think Rinpoche replied that there will be. Anyway, so Rinpoche continued to read the text. I don't know what the Hebrew translation is now. Okay, so he's going to read the text. So Rinpoche also continued to read the text. He read the following: the great translator, Shunupel. Now Rinpoche called him Lotsawa. Lotsawa is an honorific term, or it's a term for a qualified translator, so a translator of Dharma material. So good Lotsawa, he was also a translator, a great practitioner, of Guya Samaja, the Guya Samaja Tantra, and he's said to he held the explanatory lineage, of Guya Samaja. I think she said, and I couldn't hear that term clearly, but I think he said Jitsun Mapa, the teacher of Milarepa, held the guiding lineage. But anyway, the point being that Guya Lotsawa held the explanatory lineage, and he was himself a practitioner of this tantra. So he said, then therefore we should continue to read. So the great translator Guya Lotsawa holds the non-conceptual gnosis, ascertaining emptiness itself to be Mahamudra. So she said, well, here this is this subtle mind, the subtle clear-light mind, realizing emptiness. It's the same as what Rinpoche said earlier. For example, he goes on to read, for example, at the beginning of the history of Mahamudra, in his blue annals, he writes, Guru Shunupel writes, "I now tell the story of Mahamudra, which seals all the attainments and practices from the individual liberation vows, which is the foundation of the Buddha's teaching, right up to the glorious Guya Samaja." Now, Rinpoche then gave the following explanation. That apparently in the Guya Samaja Tantras, Mahamudra is also explained. It's a part of that. I mean, there's a section that does mention Mahamudra, explain it. But in general, and this is something that Rinpoche read earlier, so I won't be able to find it in the text yet, in the text right away, but there's a section that starts saying, from the presentation of the profound Mahamudra. So I don't know whether it's exactly those words in the translation, but anyway, in relation to this particular section, so from the presentation of the profound Mahamudra, in connection to that, Rinpoche wanted to give the following explanation. Well, from the point of view of the result, the path, and the basis. So in particular, the result, starting with the result. So there's also Mahamudra from the point of view of the result, like resultant Mahamudra. Resultant Mahamudra refers to the body, speech, and mind as well as the enlightened activity of a Buddha. So body, speech, and mind, and enlightened activity of the Buddha are what are called the resultant state. And then there are the different paths that will ultimately lead towards Buddhahood. So including, for instance, the Shavaka path and the 4 mudras, as mentioned earlier, the Kama Mudra, Dharma Mudra, Samaya Mudra, and the Mahamudra. So those 4 mudras of the Shavaka path. And then you have the 4 mudras, again, this Kama Mudra and so forth, of the Bodhisattva path, but the Sutric Bodhisattva path. And then you have the 4 mudras with regard to Tantra in general, 4 mudras of the Tantric Mahamudra, or the Tantric 4 mudras. And you have the 4 mudras of Tummo practice. So these are the path which eventually lead to the result, which are the body, speech, and mind, and the enlightened activities of a Buddha. Therefore, that is the kind of profound Mahamudra. This is the explanation Rinpoche gives with regard to that. And this is what Go Lotsawa here actually, or Go Shunupel, actually talks about here when he gives this quote.
chima ngagdi yigi nyungwar tumbe chir ene thomar sheba las ta ngad ngene ya yigi joja nyungwe chane ngene shega yins chima doji lui ngi la ne tu nunso tabke les ene chungwe dechen wesel te sara hadang ludu shab naru meti cha chen te chungnying kwa ne tenba yi lame gyude yangi yins da doji lu la ne tu nunso nge de sa lung tili la ne tu nu ane tal zango chetaba chigliya tene yese uiteleya migba tene teleya sem shu ne tim sum chia oda tendegi tanya yorba oda tuju tedel dojulu ne tunu sag kese tuzu tende imbanda tene 쿵 tuzo kaba yinsna jaga tujenta yejunane 통매 주도데 사라하 자그도와 되는 고물루두체 나루바체 메티바체 다 사라하던 고물루두는 반대 탄규베 따와레 나루바야 반대 탄규베 따와레 메티바야 반대 탄규베 따와 임바레 오다 둔다시 있는 두조 창마 에는 단 탄규바게 룩 시샤체는 우말레 테라니수체 탄규바게 룩 시샤체는 로기에 임바레 다 두조 나로바기 따와디 탄규베 콩순 누구 여바디 아니 상원드베 규 치면 잡아 나로바기 제샤바치 여임바레 오디 갑리야 아니 텐다베기 따웨 코르티 고몰루두다 아야 데와다 산제 짱다 러번 다와 잡베기 아니 콩다 동네 인시아베 인수아지기 규 치면 갑 나로바 코랑 숭 여임바레 뭐 텐데 인자 탄규베 공반 누구 여바데 세브레 아니 메트 버타부질샤나 돈담 주바 이나직 사지 요레 대코나이 주바 임다 대코나이 주바 사지 라메 맹아게 마겐 우마야 중부점도 치 있으니 라메 맹아데 가르샤스도 아니 고불루도 단다와 잡에 맹아게 마겐나 아니 우마야 차창하지 도구 말에 쓰지 공부다 죽지 텐디지 임바레 텐데 인도 나루바다 메트바 참을로 아니 단단히 탄교가 따와 시샤치는 폐기에 되버체 다 중닝권에 땜바 이스 주바 대dun사다 닝복고 숨사 아니 다 주바 대dun사인데 주도 두주기 ngu르글루 셰샤바치 임바레 드네 닝복고 숨승인데 도하고 숨이야 대야 주도 두조기 아니 ngu르글루 셰샤바치 임바레 오다 주바 대dun다 주바 대게사제 용구도 오다 지다 용달 주바 대dun레 오 도스 제네 주바 대 중닝권에 땜바이 라메 유디 양이스 다 유디군기 닝부 주기 닝부 아니 냠랭이 름바데 안 차젠드레스 어때 송겨야 이 말.
הטקסט ממשיך ואומר, למרות שישנן דרכים שונות, ניתן לעשות זאת בקצרה.
So with regard to now the text, Rinpoche continued to read, there are thus numerous perspectives. When summarized, however, Mahamudra is twofold, divided in terms of sutra and tantra. Of these two, I will explain the former perspective in greater detail in this work. So Rinpoche just kind of explained this again. So these are the two perspectives of the two sutra and tantra, and those will be explained. Well, as I will explain the latter in few words, I will present that first. So then Rinpoche said, well, of those two, sutra and tantra, first Rinpoche will, Benjin Osochigi Gensen will briefly talk about the tantric aspect. We'll mention that first, and then later on give a more extensive explanation of Mahamudra from the point of view of sutra. Then Rinpoche continued to read. As part of the brief presentation of Tantric Mahamudra, the latter is the clear light of great bliss that arises from skillful means, such as penetrating the vital points in the Vajra body. Now, here Rinpoche give a brief explanation. When we talk about Tantric Mahamudra, well, one aspect is penetrating the vital points in the subtle body. So here we're talking about the energy channels, the energy winds, the drops in the body, and then the meditative practice of entering, abiding, and dissolving the winds into the central channel. So this is really what it means here, to penetrate the vital points, is basically this effort or this endeavor to let the winds in the body, the energy winds, enter, abide, and dissolve in the central channel. Anyway, then it goes on to say, this is the Mahamudra, this kind of practice is the Mahamudra of Saraha, Nagarjuna, of Naropa, and Maitripa. So here he's mentioning, Benjin Osochigi Gensen in his root text mentions 4 of the 80 great Mahasiddhas, the Indian great accomplished masters called the 80 Mahasiddhas. So 4 of them mentioning Saraha first, followed by Nagarjuna, then Naropa, and Maitripa. And Rinpoche says, well, those are all followers of the Prasangika Madhyamika view. I mean, they definitely follow the Madhyamika view. So Saraha and Nagarjuna are definitely proponents of the Prasangika Madhyamika view. Naropa as well. So Naropa, for instance, there's a commentary by him, like it's called the later commentary on the Guhya Samaja, which is described as the later commentary on Guhya Samaja. And in there, he basically also stresses that the view that is set forth, the view of emptiness, should be in accordance with Nagarjuna, Ayadeva, Buddha Palita, as well as Chandrakirti. So therefore, then you also have Maitripa. So Rinpoche kind of summarized the view of these 4, the view that is set forth is basically the Madhyamika view that is shared by Prasangika and Svatantrika. Anyway, so Maitripa himself, he also the 4th of these Mahasiddhas, he has composed a text on the conduct of thatness, or of the true nature, in other words. So in there, he also says that the teachings of the guru, the oral instructions, have to be in accordance with Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, because otherwise one will be unable to realize the middle way. So the middle way can only be realized, can only be actualized on the basis of what was taught by Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti. Then the text continues to read, it goes on to say, this is the Mahamudra of Saraha and so forth, taught in the attainment and essence text. So when it says here the attainment, it's actually talking about 7 kind of texts, 7 treatises or 7 attainment texts that were composed by different Mahasiddhas, by different masters continue later on.
차진 틸레레 차네 동배 이시데 야네 코베 쳬레도 전부 송돈 주바데 차자 전부 시제도 시송바 따르 치망 나기 차자 전부 니스 원신 넘버 더버 톱진 담지도 동바 수신도 숭 기름로 공바 템버 제데 도지 룰라 네도 num바소 지난게 탑 케베 룽 우마르 슈네 템숨 제발의 중에 생기기 다 용매 샘신도 차거든 생기기 대화 준비 이시기 돈이 둔지주기 또베 빼이 외세당 대답 이시기 돈이 무슨도 또베 된기 외세 인증스다 자제치무 고사티 외세 대니기 모르 규베 샘텔라 네 된기 아동다 미시베 틀리다 마주베 샘다 타멜기 시아바다 뉴메 샘 시소기 민기 송소스 다 뉴셈 신도 외색셈 돈이도 외색셈 된데 샘텔라 아통다 미시베 틀리다 마주다 마주베셈 타멜기 시아바 데 타멜 세드 될 고구여데 남주 배주 전문도와 뉴메 샘 시소기 민기 송소 빼는 공부 대화 첨부 암 초계 돌지다 주전 살아하다 루주샤다 리트 원주다 때로 나로 메딜라소 파유기 주전 남다 대른 맛에 다데 마르미 감보와 마르바타 밀라숭거 마르미 감보와 파주 파무투바 소 가주 공원 남기 시아바 타르투베 차쟁장 룽 우마르 슈그네 틈숨 제발의 중에 대쟁기 외설이 인라스 다기 밀레 공지 장바임바 대네 루바 대둔다 닝보 고승기 조저조 nenjolami기 규데 야초타부 양 닝부 이노스 다 주바 대둔는 공부 대화 첨부스 다 두두 주도고 민래 주동 공부 대화 첨부 승인되기 상어 주바 승인기 루티인제 니니 두베 자규기 공부 좋은들 디 조자디 엔 상원 두베 자규기 공부 좋은들이 여레스 반된 둘레 디 임베 콩데 가르스나 반된 둘레 촉신메스 상원 두베 초두기 신야마르스 직된 군지 린첸직 제소 두베 차와 주네스 두베 기름강 중세당 개발 자규기 녀든 조름 텀비갑기 대동 예매기 람 제도되는 체스 보다 당고 상화 주바 뭐 대화 준비 상화 주바 되는 게 당고디 상화 두베 거치그레스 니네 중인 셴남기 치모다 부르 제도스 보다 아마다부터레스다 신진사다부터 다 주바 되는 걸 하마 주보다 니모 거스ум다 두도 참에 시진사데레스 데일로마 양라 메베 도르지 탑시 주반제스 데일로마 인더 무디 이시 주반제스 대점 라킴카라 니메 주반제스 다 라킴카라 사지 니여에 나메 나미시 라킴카라 니 메바 온도 담바 있나 민라 니 메바 온도 담바 있나 단다 geloma pe mosa드 라킴카라 사드와 다디 뱅에 디레스네 카츠랑데 제토고면도 지단 체인지 버레 라킴카라 geloma pe 몰라 라킴카라 슈요레 어때체 다
딜라 제가 렉션 카라 니 세면나 야마나 니메 주바
니메 주바
베제미
니메 주바
그래
베제미를 니메 주바스 어투스라 그래 다 데일로마 인더부디 이시 주바 대점 락심카르 니메 주바 에는 롬베 헤루게 생지게루 다르카베 상와첨부 대코나니 주바 다때네 nenjol ma tsitus da tusche jarare di tupche moimbre tin da nenjol mas yajar matsito membache nenjol mas yajar en tsitu en ngobo sabe jesun dobe tekonani tuba zes o ta dinalya tuba dedun zenyen nanga tudo monida en ta ponga chagrwa nga tudu 어떻게 리바타 티체 다데네 닝부 거스음네 도학 숨인라스 부든 탐제 겸다 도와스 제년데 사라하게 도학 거스음들과 야부 도하 만 도하 숨 도하 이나지스 도학 거스음 잡으러와 어딘 가시기 도학 거스음 디나네 에 만 도하를 직 천된 제신다도 레마르 토바테데스 제지 두아 이나야 에네 정골로만 정거 지금 대 도보를 하는 게 메인 바래 근데 임배 차네 에네 던던디 도와 고스음디 에네 벤절로서 추진기 델리아 가샤메체 어도시 인샤 체치 숨고요래 도와 숨이라 부든 탐제 캠바소 개방가 시기 만토와 남다다 신이 카야리 숭오스 대난 것이 고물 다 대바도 지로 하잖아.
So previously, Rinpoche just mentioned these texts. Rinpoche mentioned these texts that are also mentioned in verse 8, described briefly as attainment and essence texts. So the attainment, 7 attainment texts, but Rinpoche says, according to some traditions, there are actually 8 attainment texts, so texts by different Mahasiddhas. Anyway, Rinpoche then continued to read. So it was he went on to read, starting from, why is it called the Great Seal? On this, the drop of the Great Seal states, hand, chak, which is the Tibetan the first mudra is like a hand. Mud refers to the gnosis of emptiness. Ya or ja, seal, is the freedom from samsaric phenomena. And great, chen in Tibetan or maha in Sanskrit, refers to union. So it's called the Great Seal. So here in the letter, the system of Tantra, Mahamudra refers to the illustrative clear light. I keep calling it the exemplary clear light. So it's the same, the illustrative clear light. The gnosis of innate great bliss, realizing emptiness via a generic image and induced by the entry, abiding, and absorption or dissolving, absorption of the winds inside the central channel caused by skillful means such as penetrating the vital points of the Raja body, and the actual clear light, which I described as meaning clear light, so the meaning or actual clear light, the direct realization of emptiness within such gnosis, such primordial wisdom or such exalted wisdom. These in turn arise on the basis of having received perfectly the 4 empowerments, having observed correctly the pledges and the vows, and having gained stable familiarity with the generation stage. This mind of clear light is referred to with the epithets as the short A of definitive meaning, the instructable drop, the uncontrived mind, the ordinary awareness, the ever-present innate mind, and so on. So Rinpoche just kind of explained again. So he said, well, the clear light mind, the different terms that are used to refer to the clear light mind, such as the short A of the definite meaning, the indestructible drop, and so forth. And he says, well, the ordinary awareness, he seems to think that, or he thinks that is not used that much. But anyway, so it's not that common. But anyway, those are all different terms used to refer to the innate clear light mind. According to the definite standpoint of the great Siddhas of the land of the Aryas. Just a sec. Yes. According to the definite standpoint of the great Siddhas, the great accomplished masters, or the Mahasiddhas of the land of the Aryas, the land of the Arya India, the glorious protector, Mahasukha, or Saroruhavaja, the great Siddha Saraha, Nagarjuna Pada, Lord Savadi, Tilopa, Naropa, Maitripa, and others, as well as the early Kagyu masters, Marpa, Milarepa. So in the Tibetan text, it just says Mami, so that is short for Marpa and Milarepa, Gampopa, Hamudruba, and others. Mahamudra refers to the clear light of great bliss, that has arisen through the entry, abiding, and dissolution of the winds inside the central channel. So again, Rinpoche just repeated those words with his own words, so kind of saying, yeah, so the great bliss, the clear light mind of great bliss, that innate clear light mind has arisen through the entry, abiding, and dissolution of the winds inside the central channel. This is the principal subject matter of the 7 attainment texts and the Essence Trilogy, and is the innermost essence of the highest yoga class of Tantra, vast as an ocean. So the highest yoga class of the Tantras, the different Tantras, which is as vast as an ocean. Now, Rinpoche then said here these 2 texts that are explained in verse 8, or that are mentioned in verse 8, attainment and essence text. So what do they refer to? All the explanation that was previously given is based on those texts. Well, these are the 7 attainment texts, as it says here. Certain, like all texts on attainments, or on accomplishments or attainments by different Mahasiddhas. So the protector Mahasukha composed the text called Secret Attainment, or Guhya Siddhi in Sanskrit. So this primarily elucidates the intention of the Guhya Samaja root Tantra. Extolling the greatness of the Guhya Samaja, there's no Tantra superior to the glorious Guhya Samaja. It's a jewel unique in the 3 worlds. Now, this shows, and Rinpoche explained this, that Guhya Samaja root Tantra, or Guhya Samaja Tantra in general, that is the basis for all other Tantras. It's all based on the Guhya Samaja Tantra that the other Tantras developed, or that these other Tantras were set forth. So the text briefly, it's a jewel unique in the 3 worlds. The text briefly presents the generation state of Guhya Samaja, but teaches with special focus the definitive meaning of the root Tantra, namely the path of indivisible or inseparable bliss and emptiness of the advanced levels of the completion stage. This work is recognized as the foundational text for all the other attainment texts in the Essence Trilogy. So here Rinpoche stressed, kind of explained again, so the Guhya Samaja is the root Tantra, but it's also the essence or the root text, the basis for the other 6 texts of attainments. So it goes on to say, Mahasukha's disciple, Anangavajra, composed attainment of method and wisdom. Anangavajra's disciple, Indrabhuti, composed attainment of gnosis. His wife, so Indrabhuti's wife, Lakshminkara, composed attainment of the non-dual. So here Rinpoche says, well, there may be 2 Lakshminkara, actually 2. Well, if there are only 1, then there's Geloma Palmo or the Big Shuni Palmo. But anyway, here it mentions just the wife of Indrabhuti, his wife Lakshminkara, who composed attainment of the non-dual. The Hebrew translator checked with Rinpoche. So here this refers to the non-dual, and Rinpoche says, yes, so non-duality, the non-dual here. Then Dombi Heruka authored Attainment of the Connate. Darikapa wrote Attainment of the Principle of the Great Secret. And Yogini Sinta wrote Attainment of the Principle that follows the illumination of reality. Here it says in Tibetan, usually before with many of the others, it says, well, the Tibetan word for yogi is Nenjo, Nenjopa or Nenjor, well, Nenjopa usually. And here in this case, it's very clearly states Nenjoma, which is the female aspect of someone who is practicing the yoga. So therefore a yogini, it's this lady or this woman, Sinta, wrote Attainment of the Principle that follows the illumination of reality. Remember, she just explained that. The Essence Trilogy, which is the second part, like the essence, which in the root text is only described as the Essence Trilogy is the 3 Doha collections, Doha or Song of Experience. Some learned masters, such as the omniscient Buddha, maintain that the people's Doha is authentic. It's authentic, a work of Saraha, while the other 2 collections are falsely attributed. So apparently Lama Tsongkhapa doesn't have that kind of view with regard to the other 2 Dohas. which Rinpoche described as well, the male and female Doha, or the Doha of the king and the queen. But anyway, so here there seems to be some dispute about whether the other two Dohas, other than the people's Doha, can be contributed to Sarha. But apparently Lama Tsongkhapa didn't have that kind of doubt about it. He felt it was the work by Sarah. Anyway, some might argue that it would be untenable. Okay, let's continue.
다 되네마 대난 가식 곰불루루 샵지 르마당 조름 뜬수 에네 단데 두바데 둔다 닝보 코스음다 두즈 뜬수 찍바르베스 다 틴데지 찍부지간 이메지 뇌년지 열에스 숭구유서레 조름 뜬수 개발 메바 미테테스 개발 열에스 도알레 잠스쿠바 칼와시 nenjur sheba le sho juru jingbe simyindi le ne trowa tezo me je dang soma maju luba je dang te konani juba le gyang lama tambe jeba me je tangbo ne jeba me jeba ile jeba ka ne shabe trowa gyuba shebe chir jena ndidan dindawe 중인기 룽남라 추시 옹와 대나야 제 탐제 캠베 릉가사준 다 세준세들 릉가사준 상원드베 조림 세준 소수 도와소네 숭바니 가바마규메체네 나름 템베 냠네 이 숭바 까신도 민교와 인데 되해 베르 중세 셰나 다 별주지 그게 있다 저름치 그 가바교요 말 알론 템뱅 냠내지레스 오다 제바메바 주고 레스인다 아니 제 단데데 고물루두 그중아 조른든주 레야 이 제바메바 주고 레베 마레세다 군인이 간두 거봐 오다 도정 알론 템뱅 갑게자레스 다 딜 딘데지도와 단다 제르무체 라니기 제샤베기 람림 체중 잔주 남셰 투즈나레이나 아니 단다 동일라 제지도 냠버샤베 냠샤 이시기 야 냠버샤베 제레 야 라리야 텔야 아니 양교 지 누버트마 냠루도 텔제바체 아니 지긴 조긴 아니 젠조 빼마체네 공고레스 아니 람린 딩비오 갑려야 아니 항동 검수디 아니 상알라 디마임바 아니 투모마임바 검수지에 단다값 파메 아니 델시그멘스 람린 딩비오 갑려 텐디지수 다 아니 조른 링아 사든 갑려야 아니 상아 템비오 갑기 아니 항동 동반이람미벨 항동 검수인데 제공 자원이네 메제바 조금 권해 돈의 제바 인스 든지지 송다 좀보 강사 정골로 정고 직니기 아는 도입값기 상동 검수 아는 나값기 나 라메기 값기 제바 나 라메기 값기 아는 지 배등교에서 든지 값기 안 조금 검수 상동 검수 어떻게들 개발송도 왔는데 인데 단대 디나나 딱다도와 근데 르네 토와 테조메스 nenjo sheba 르라 쇼 주부 징버 시스 오다도조 나 템비오 갑들라 아니 제바 메제바 조금 코네 토네 항도 공부를 숭에다 딱딱 근데 가ringo 도하기 찍도조 딱딱 튠투와 용하지도와 텐데레 디다 땅아래 삼주슈고요 제 탐제 캠베 세든 소수 도하소네 숭바네 나람 템비 냠네 이 숭바 까신도 민교와 인데스 나란 템면 냠네 인사 다 배전이잖아 티 단댕에 쉬어야 딘발 차샤 다 되네 비지티 줄는 게
So anyway, Rinpoche said there's some kind of, from what he said previously, he said, well, there's a bit of a story that is being told now in this next part. So then Rinpoche continued to read in the outer commentary, some might argue that it would be untenable to maintain that the standpoint presented in the above texts, so the attainment and essence, the above mentioned text, is not different from Nagarjuna's 5 stages and his presentation of the completion stage. For example, passages such as the following in the Dohas. So here the Nagarjuna's 5 stages, basically, oh yeah, sorry, no, she didn't add anything. For example, passages such as the following in the Dohas. Just like a Brahman spinning the sacred thread, the yogi should let his mind rest at ease. This mind, bound in its own entanglement, when relaxed, becomes free, no doubt. And the fresh, the uncontrived and carefree, it's mentioned. There's also this phrase, the fresh, the uncontrived and carefree. And the 10 verses on reality too say, absence of analysis is the excellent guru, suggesting that it is through resting the mind right from the start, with no analysis and cessation of mental activity, that one attains freedom. It may be true that there can be misreading of citations such as the above from the 7 attainment texts and the Essence trilogy. Nonetheless, what the omniscient Tsongkhapa says in his Lamp to Illuminate the 5 Stages, which is a commentary by Lama Tsongkhapa on the completion stage of the Guhe Samaja Tantra, Rinpoche added that explanation, and elsewhere as to what is taught in the Dohas and so forth, as to how what is taught in the Dohas and so forth represents practices of advanced levels of the Tantra path, remains immutable. So here Rinpoche says, well, actually, of course, Lama Tsongkhapa reciting different treatises. So, for instance, you have the Great Lamrim and the Middling Lamrim, different versions of the Lamrim, more extensive ones. Well, actually, the extensive one, the middling, and the shorter, the condensed Lamrim. So, Lamrim or treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. So, you have these different versions. You have different commentaries by Lama Tsongkhapa, such as his commentary on the fundamental wisdom, his commentary on Chandakirti's entering the middle way, and so forth. So what he mentions, for instance, in his Lamrim texts, he talks about realizing emptiness first. So, well, first generating calm abiding, and then with this calm abiding in the mind realizing emptiness, you realize emptiness, you're absorbed in emptiness as long as you can, and then if the mind gets distracted, you alternate back to calm abiding initially as part of the training, and then go back to analyzing. So that initially you do analyze the object emptiness. You then alternate and bring the two together, the calm abiding and the alternation, that is realization of emptiness, kind of bringing together concentration as well as analysis. While in the middling Lamrim, Lama Tsongkhapa mentions that the tantric system is unique. There's a tantric system that is unique. And in another text of his, he mentions that emptiness is to be practiced without analysis, is to be absorbed in, is to be, well, you should focus on it with meditative equipoise without analysis. Now, there are different explanations he gives here, but from the tantric point of view, here talking about the illustrative clear light mind, or the exemplary or the illustrated clear light mind, as well as the actual or meaning clear light mind, the actual clear light mind, well, here when we talk about those different clear light minds, it seems it's better to just focus the mind, to just be focused. So to practice not analytical meditation, but rather stabilizing meditation. And this is also what is described in the Doha here, when it previously said in this Song of Experience, when it says the mind should be relaxed and free without doubt, so remain in a stable kind of way. And so therefore, Rinpoche says here, when it says and so forth, represents practices of advanced level. So this, of course, here we're talking about advanced level of Tantra. And with regard to these being advanced levels, well, at that level, this analysis is not stressed in the same way as in the sutric explanation.
원데 닝지 바시 곰나야 코완들네 타로토민규 가야 니부 조월 느바데 코왈라미네 냥데 미네 시 닝지 따단데 닝지티 nga kamen sungu yube nga lamya kamen sungu yube inza ene dewa chimbe ishi tilo kogu gres ta ko kujuchi yore 닝지 singde karunas yeba de dengos ta dunga ta tawa debe lochi yimbe chane karunas semkibul hölö chi debe loti kagi yebe inza ene karunas ta dewa chimbe ishi tilo ya 닝지 dati jugobe gyusen karasana dewa chimbe ishi kebade ene 감 잠에도 징발이 충배 아니 다 룰을 내두는 발 충배 아니 다 대체지 지단 로단 된대지래 거미세 가가지 감 잠에도 징발이 충배 뭐 감치로도 뭐 뜻다래 뭐 징발이 충배 된대 인자 댕고스 감치로도 표 대왕 고바 인자 아니 댕고스 어떤 페이지 유민 데를 따봤지 단대디 대화침에 이실에 닝지 민다야데 유민 데를 따봤지 dewa chimbo ishi jungi yu ene kam chiro du zade goba la tene ene dewa chimbo ishi di kiki yoba inbe chane ene yumin dhayla takbachi kanda nigal dengo shebe tanyi jugu yoba inza ene tande di nyingje di jidan nyingje di ma inba dewa chimbo ishi la kogu res de sungu duwa oti rodan tusu inba re ta kandar di chene dechen ishi chibu gomba tsamji kyang tamji kimbo komo totogu mare 동반이 공부 찍고 그냥 담지 캠프 공부 토투고 말에 대화 챔비 이시다 동반이 송도 주고 거네 아니 유다 유전도 주고 거네 토고 그래스 새다 찍찍체 야 팅일레 또버큐나 탐제 대인데 델리 신시 수자 시민규 로바 대인 진다 공방야 대인데 땡주 닝라 쳐봐야 대인노 대나 대미 천배 따와 유민데 원장 찍도 라메 샬라 되베이 라메 메바 강기 닝슈바 라베티나 네베 때통다 뉴메 릉시 집에 맞춰버 출레 지발루시 나누마스타 주도기 냥아지레다 간다 가르토 대동게 이시티 내가데 또바이나 아니 디기 아니 정주 톱토야지 레스 곰기 타도 데레스 대아즈 로바치기 핑게 마레 에네 라메 맹알 마도 곰바기 핑게 마레 땡주 셰바정기 핑게 마레 다 두조 강가 라메 맹알 때 고그레 사지 두가 원자 찍도 라메 샬레 때베인스 에네 두스 체네 에네 출레 제발로 단대바도 에네 두스 디네주도 마셔온게 집안은 코알 참데 대동기 이식이 주주도 마셔온게 인 집안은 코알 참바레 ene siji jibal tawala tedabuji to gugreshi danumas ene sara khorangi chal dachinamgi yoimbarwa tinza danumas danuyenge nga labgis ta sara khorangi tanyechi sungor danusade sara ge ming namraji.
Now Rinpoche continued with the text. So let me explain the meaning of the dohas, or these songs of spiritual realization, by way of some examples from the Doha Treasury of Songs. Whoever enters emptiness, divorced of compassion, will not find the path supreme. And if he cultivates compassion alone, he'll remain in samsara and not abide in nirvana. Whoever can conjoin the two will remain neither in samsara nor in nirvana. So Rinpoche here said, well, with regard to compassion, here, of course, we're talking about Tantric Mahamudra. This is the section on Tantric Mahamudra, and specifically describing the tantric aspect, compassion here does not literally mean compassion as it's described in the sutric system. However, but rather it refers to the great bliss, innate great bliss, which is then unified, which is brought together with the mind realizing emptiness. So this is here compassion as in karuna, karuna being the Sanskrit term. So in this context, in the tantric context, the word, the Sanskrit, the original term karuna, is meant to mean the kind of the gateway or the door to bliss, or the door to happiness, whichever way you want to translate here the de in the Tibetan word, which can be translated as happiness, and it can be translated even as pleasant or as bliss. But here in the context, it's probably refers to bliss. And so here, therefore, it is that which this kind of bliss, the bliss of having overcome any kind of suffering. So having overcome any kind of obscurations, that is the kind of bliss. So being the door, this great bliss, being the door to bliss, karuna, here translating that, this is actually, the result is that bliss that is free, like being the door to bliss. So really the resultant state is that total freedom of suffering, of any obscuration, which is an example, therefore, of applying the name of the cause to the result. So here, karuna being the door to great bliss, that is actually the cause, but it's applied to the result in the sense of like great bliss, that being the end of any type of suffering. But the point being here, great bliss, karuna, is that what you generate karuna here, or this great bliss, in the sense that by way of entering and abiding and dissolving the winds and the central channel. So when you do that, and they all absorb into the indestructible drop, then the clear light mind manifests, and bliss is also generated. So a blissful mind is generated, and you utilize that blissful mind, that karuna, that compassion, you utilize that as the mind itself, which then realizes emptiness, bringing together the object, emptiness, and the subject, or the object possessor, as the Tibetan word is, as the Tibetan word actually means. So the mind bringing together the object, emptiness, and the mind that is clear light. That is clear light. Sorry, no. Excuse me, I get confused. So the object that is emptiness, and the mind that is great bliss, bringing the two together, unifying the two. Now, this is what this is saying in the Doha Treasure of Songs, bringing together great bliss and emptiness in order to not remain in samsara nor in nirvana, or self-liberation. Then it goes on to say, the text thus explains how it is necessary to conjoin the subject compassion, which is the innate great bliss, with the object emptiness. Also, the same text says, if you have realization, then all things are just that. No one will know anything other than that. Reading is that, retention and meditation are also that. Upholding a treatise in one's heart also is that. There's no view not indicated by that, but it is dependent on the Guru's words alone. So here again, Rinpoche talks about the fact that, well, knowing, for instance, the inseparability, the indivisibility of great bliss and emptiness, just knowing about it, just meditating on it and so forth, without the instructions of a guru, will not do, will not be sufficient. You will not fully know this inseparability of great bliss and emptiness. You will not be able to fully meditate on it to gain the necessary results and so forth. Therefore, it is crucial to have the instructions of a guru, an experienced guru, a qualified guru. So that is said to be important. So it's dependent on the guru's words alone. It goes on to say, having the guru's teaching enter your heart is like seeing a treasure in the palm of your hand, because the innate nature goes unnoticed by the childish, deluded become deceived. So says the archer. So the archer is here a name that is given to Saraha. Those are the words by Saraha. So Saraha was also called the archer.
Sarahagi and Ngagi, Toko Tumbugi, and Rotang Tone, Ngulu, Tigi, and the Wachimbi Ishi Kachambo Yimba, Tony Tobe Ishi Kachambo Yimba, the Donsunju Kachambo Yimba, to talk Bengo Papa Lulu Sundana, Chibachiganchin and Ruby Deva, or Chixun Ruby Begi, that Bella in the number red was.
So here when it says in the author commentary, let me explain the meaning of the dohas by way of some examples from the Doha Treasury of Songs. Well, really what is giving here is an example of the fact that Saraha's view accords with that of Nagarjuna. So the view on emptiness, on the view on how to practice, because it becomes clear that Saraha,
Nyuma ti namju mayimbar kansa shen suyan shebar mingyula nyusum ngondu kyuba tini loba dan zimba dan gomba namgi in kardu nyingte ngonsum tu kyuba ya inde nyingte sade ngedi iga mada imunda
Nila nimbo.
nyingbote
Nimbo.
nyingbote ngondu kyuba ya inde tenju nyingla jangbe gobe zo ya teino sta tagi sikdu jogi tonda nyingdu te yebache dirisha.
So with regard to Saraha's view on great bliss, on emptiness, on the inseparability of great bliss and emptiness. So this shows here on the basis of this example that Saraha's view is the same as Nagarjuna's view. Anyway, Rinpoche then continued to read the text, the author commentary. He read, this states that when the yogi directly experiences and come to realize when the yogi directly experiences and comes to realize the innate mind, then all phenomena are seen as manifestations of this innate mind. No person will know anything that is not a manifestation of that innate mind. Furthermore, the actualization of that innate mind represents the direct realization. No, we'll continue later. The direct.
Nyingbo ti chombar chebe tawa le labe tawa shen yoba minde. Wanyang, ta dewa chimbo ishiki yu tongba nyi rangun ni triba tongba tawa tel laga yomaras yu jengi chane. Ta yu tongba nyi la tar ta yomaras yu jengi chane tel laga yomaras. Wanyang nyingbo ti gomdo ki ngusung tu nyamsu nyongwa yoba ni tachik tu doji chane tamba parama chebe lama tambe shaki damba damba la tueba yinjing. Tendabe damba tang nyamnyong jengi lame meba kangi nyingla shube nyingbo tongba nyi tsechik du shade gombe ne tongni ki tuen lakbe titu nebe ene kardu nebe tongtan rawar musundu toban yoros tongtan rawar dayan di yigit taga mebda lakbe titu nebe
Tony lao tu til tu nebe tertan jawa.
o ter taktar tertan rawa taktar tertan rawa de tongchi tertan rawa musundu tong yoros ta lakbe tiliya partinal tebna singures gyuro nyungme ran singi chiba susu ki won namji musundu matong war denshin ki tulbe chiba lyushe danu saraha mao shewatang ta tagi chig jaba teimata.
So Rinpoche previously read, furthermore, the actualization of that innate mind represents the direct realization of the essence of reading, retention, and meditation. It is also the principal purpose of upholding treatises in your heart. Rinpoche just briefly mentioned the text. Rinpoche is reading the heart, the spelling. There's a typo in the text, but it means heart, really. Anyway, then Rinpoche continued saying, there's no view superior to the one indicated by such essence. So there's no view here with regard to the object. There's no view superior to emptiness. And then with regard to the subject or the mind, there's no view superior with regard to the subtlest type of mind, which is the innate clear light mind. So these are the two object emptiness and mind, innate clear light mind. Those two, there's nothing in terms of object or mind that is superior to this essence. This said, have you met it? Have you translated? You said yes. Sorry, I've still got some.
동이 또베 이시 등원도 규나 디다 가르소레 생지기비 차제 준비 이식 삼된디 용거레스 동이 또베 이시 등원도 마교바 다 댄싱 찡바 있나네 마리바 사야되겠다 된자바지 차그르 돼 있는 거도 규나 몸바잘스 생지기비 랑시 딩이네 뭐다 뭐메 빠야 마이너스 어다 대화 준비 이식이 유동반 영해봐 생긴데 뭐보 딱타야 말에 뭐메 차다야 말에 딱제기 타니다 잡아지레스 든데지기다 유동반 일에 잡에 딱제기 타니다 차 유제 대화 준비 이식이 딱제기 타니다 잡에 텔야 아니 지다와 신도 아니 무슨도 해봐 사지 어다 든데지 고그레 송아지 숭기요라 승도 셰 랑신 생게 뉴스음디 곰도비기 ngondu kyurna chegomgi samdengi chichas ta gombetobgi yungguina ene chiturala sobe ribe chaba chene en thoma tawa tena be digi in samde karchigresna wondes kodu kyurna tungni tobe ishi ngondu makyuba che ngu ta to matuba che dus cheba inane maribe mumba jalas 단도 코알 칭위 다 대치그레스 닝보 테니스 동유도베 이시 대화침이 이시 유도만 닝베 닝보 테니스 뭐보 딱과당 뭐메 쳐봐 뭐보 덴바스는 딱타레 뭐메 쳐봐야 마이너스 셰바다 야 삼된다 잡에 지식 삼제 다 디디 딘데레 단덴디기 칙데 경우저 이시는 가장 킹잉기 까만다 드바니 양양 룽데나야 페치르디 다 규그 측들래 말해서 뭐 빼초 맨로 상도 스방 오니기다 오니기 스트레치 라신 답에 셈데메 스바 탐바 쳐버 주루스 티치디 누가 좀 쉬우지도 까는 것도 왔다 티 단된들 딱딱 거야래 최 탐제 라신 주베 동바 방복하라네 동동바지레스 다 텐데지 임바티 아니 란싱기 주베 동바 곰나 가래요 마곰나 가야르스 아니 란싱기 동바 임바텔라 아니 란싱기 동바 임바 곰바이나 아니 란싱기 주버 짐베 칭와텔레 토그레스 모니기 스트레체스 아니 근데 란싱기 동바 녜베 로티기스 란시 타베 셈덴베 스바탐바스타 텔라야 아니 란시 타베 셈덴베 서비스 셈델라 란싱기 주베 동바 녜베 로테당 아니 디 갸블로텔야 갸테 아니 닝제 첨보 장주그 셈 탑기 차이 셈베 안 동니 닝제 닝부 쟁지기나 아니 숭지지 중바이나 스바탐발라메 조바산지 고마 토그레스 제제 디칙티기 다 동니 녜고비 규체 아니 동바니디 사르트 쮸바 마임바 쮸남기 닐루 르 사르트 쮸바 마임바 당본에 여대버지 시추진 주부점니네 여대버지 오다 텐다바티 녜바이나 아니 스바탐발라메 조바산지 고마 토구 여대버지 시 남샤 람긴 남샤 드리분 남샤 디 숄카티나 템바 난시 단데 단덴디 가테 응원도 큐나 삼데지 지데 꼬도 큐나 몽반자 생지 깨베랑시 팅이네 뭐다 뭐메 빠야 마이노 생게티 다 깨자 디 소르지도 와스
something cheese dila something like goba gyumten kariyores in this video dila kalte mundu juna something cheese di hambude shenyang kalte mundu juna something chi
뭐래 다 당보 코란에 랑원 주베 똥동바지 딘데지 있나 데 랑싱이 주베 똥바레 시베 anything 징 로드 장네 고바 카리 요레스 사치 어디 고바 요레스 카테스 리베텔은 베네 랑시메 베텔은 맘베 바이나 아니 디기 문바함 덴바 주바 건 디기 숭베고네 코알 징그레스 다 덴다바티 아니 이 랑싱기 마투바 딘데기 뉴메스 랑싱기 마투바티 아니 따와티 가야 메베 똥상에 똥바 똥장 직대버베 대마레스 디 아니 랑은을 주베 똥바 힘베 찾는 따따 세그레 아니 최제 아니 뉴메스엠디 아니 마카바 힘베 찾네 아니 시최제 여여버레 어디 힘베 찾네 체베 타야 세그레스 딘데 인자 생지 깨베라시 딩이네 뭐다 뭐메 바야마이 노스 다 답에 탈랄 홍보지 말에 제배 탈랄 홍보지 말에 네 다지기 타니다 타와지레스 어떤데 숨고 여인스
그래서 멤버제 가마 추 하요래 지
우야야 또 보면 잡을 말어
So this said, direct experience of the essence through the This said experience of the essence through the power of meditative practice is dependent entirely upon the instruction coming from the mouth of the Guru, who is part of an uninterrupted lineage of sublime beings beginning from Vajradhara. When such quintessential instruction of the Guru enters your heart, and when you place your mind single-pointedly on the essence emptiness and meditate on it, you will see the meaning of emptiness nakedly, as if you're So sorry, I started racing because Rinpoche said he would start to meditate, but Rinpoche now suggested to meditate afterwards at the beginning of the first session, so we can, in a relaxed way, kind of finish what Rinpoche has just said and meditate on it. You will see the meaning of emptiness nakedly, as if you're seeing a treasure on the palm of your hand. There's been a spelling mistake in Rinpoche's text, so anyway, it turned out to be treasure on the palm of your hand. Then Rinpoche continued to read, childish ordinary beings fail to see this innate nature directly, and because of their clinging to true existence, the childish are deceived. So says the archer Saraha. The Doha treasure of songs also says, it is manifest. What need is there for concentration? If it is hidden, you will encounter darkness. That innate nature is itself neither entity nor non-entity. So what is the saying here? That what you need is constant. So if someone asks, well, what is the need of meditation, for instance? Why do you need concentration? Well, emptiness is hidden. If you don't understand emptiness, you will encounter darkness, which here, darkness is another word for ignorance. That innate nature of all phenomena is free from the extreme. So neither entity nor non-entity means it is free from the extreme of reification, here indicated by the word entity, nor non-entity or nihilism. So it's free from reification it's free from reification and nihilism. So this asks, it goes on to say, if this nature, ever-present innate mind, has become manifest through meditative practice, what need is there of the concentration of analytical meditation? So here someone is asking, well, we've got all these reasonings that phenomena do not exist inherently one or are not inherently different from their parts and so forth, all these different reasonings, why do you need them? So if in contrast it remains hidden, you will then encounter darkness. So the Hebrew translator also asked about this passage, so I'll explain what Rinpoche said in this context. So if you do not apply these different reasonings and you don't fully understand emptiness, well, your problem will be that you won't realize the actual nature of phenomena, and you will remain within ignorance, with this non-realization or not apprehending emptiness, not understanding emptiness, and therefore ignorance will continue, will remain. And this essence is neither a real entity nor a non-entity in the sense of nothingness. So this essence of all phenomena, that nature of all phenomena, well, it's free from the extremes. Rinpoche again emphasized it's free from the two extremes of reification and nihilism. Let me just check the notes. Yes, so Rinpoche said, well, he's reminded of this quote His Holiness has repeatedly given just recently when His Holiness gave the empowerment on Hiruka Krishnacharya. So at that time, His Holiness also gave this particular quote. And Rinpoche says he's not sure. He thinks it's from the Penjo Tantra. But anyway, the point is, it's from a tantric text, and the words read as follow: existence is without an essence. This nature liberates from existence. The most supreme heroic being is by his own nature pure, and attains and works towards the highest or the supreme existence. Now, these words are really profound. They imply that all phenomena lack inherent existence. Existence is without essence. So phenomena lack an essence. They don't exist inherently. And this nature of all phenomena, this ultimate nature, if we meditate on that, if we contemplate that, if we meditate on that, if we internalize it, we come to be freed from existence. Here, existence refers to worldly existence. So worldly existence lacks inherent existence, and if we meditate on that lack of inherent existence, we'll be liberated from worldly existence. And then he goes on to say the supreme heroic beings, those practitioners, their mind being pure in the sense of emptiness and great compassion being. Sorry, I haven't finished. Please stay on a little bit longer because there's still an important part to come.
This something the Jagon Gogu Yubeta, the Carrera, Yusen Carresana, and Java Macheva, any Sem Koran, and Semo Treasam, Tetsam Maimba, and Semo Treasam Jiggy, and Ranshi Truma to Java Majena, and Damatu Gajat Gat Marwas, Teens and Mumbajals, Tinde in New Sem Koran and Gomba Kone. Dangmebda Newsome Kora Tia Rangon Trumadu Java Chebe Topki and Java Goguri Kandar Java Chimbi Yishi Newsome Tigi, you Tombaning Yavach Goguri, you Tombaning Air the Toman Jebegon, the Goyajire, Carresena, Tiny Segu Duas, or Tendavade, Tiny La Malum with Rivas, or Tinde Indu, Tiny La Malumate, Jeto Topki, Toma Druguarvas, what the Tindis Sunguyordas,
So that Rinpoche went on to say that this great being who's naturally pure, so this great practitioner, this heroic being combines the two, the understanding of emptiness and great compassion, and on the basis of that, then attains the highest existence, so attains Buddhahood. And it shows us here that we need to realize emptiness, and that emptiness has existed from the beginning. I mean, even the mind of this heroic being is naturally pure. This mind that is emptiness and the mind realizing emptiness and great compassion affecting each other, conjoined in this way. And actually, therefore, these words basically, they therefore explain these 4 lines that Rishono cites. They explain the basis, the path, and the result. Anyway, then Rinpoche went on to say, he went back to the author commentary saying, devoid of meditation, what is there to contemplate? Inexpressible, how can it be explained? The seal of samsaric existence deceives all beings. As for the innate nature, no one can take it away. Now, Rinpoche then said, well, it's actually not exactly the same as the verse that Rishono usually always cites. It's not exactly the same. The existence or worldly existence is without essence and so forth, because really what it's talking about here is the tantric aspect if you do not apply analysis. So without analyzing in terms of the mind, like what is the nature of the mind? How does the mind exist? Does it exist?
And learn it or Tazomason, or there is a lever to Sunguduas, Judge Labundu, or Sarahagi Inaya, Jegum Gobati, Dione, 고물로 tumba 네 공부 권에는 3대지 있습니다. 조금 아니 같은 지가 알았으니 조금 그거 옆에 숨고도 와서 자꾸 tumbe 착각하려 되는 말 롱탕도 왔어.
So basically what he's saying, well, you need to analyze even the clear light mind, because otherwise you will hold on to the inherent existence of that mind and you'll remain in that kind of darkness. So therefore it's important to first of all analyze how does the clear light mind exist, and then make emptiness the object, take it as the object of the clear light mind, in order then to be free from the two extreme, the extreme of entity or reification and non-entity, or that is nihilism. So in such a way the mind does not fall into any of the extremes if it first analyzes. And what Rinpoche said thereafter, well, previously we heard this quote by Saraha when he says the mind bound in its own entanglement when relaxed becomes free, no doubt, kind of seeming to indicate that you only need to focus single-pointedly on the mind. Please remain, I haven't finished yet. Tomer, please don't switch off the English yet. So Rinpoche said we're done for this morning. Question and answer as well as meditation will follow in the afternoon, the second session. Anyway, Rinpoche then said, well, it seems that in his dohas, Saraha is saying that you don't need to analyze. I mean, you need to relax the mind. But then from the quote that we just read, and later on it says the same, devoid of meditation, what is there to contemplate? So inexpressible, how can it be explained? So what do these lines say? They're saying that you do need to analyze. So Saraha is actually not saying, he does say in one context you need to relax the mind, but he's also stressing the importance of analysis, which accords with Nagarjuna's intention, which accords with what Nagarjuna explains. So you need to relax the mind, but you also need analysis in order not to fall into the extreme of reification and nihilism. That's it. Thank you.